Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by thanking you all for joining us here in the UAE and for your participation at the Women, Peace and Security Conference. The UAE is a proud board member of the Women, Peace and Security and Humanitarian Action Compact, so we particularly welcome today's opportunity to discuss it. The Compact, with over 160 signatories, is truly an example of how multi-stakeholder partnerships can effectively work to advance the WPS agenda. All of us here have worked to advance the WPS agenda since the adoption of Landmark Security Council Resolution 1325. Simultaneously, as the world becomes interconnected, we are realizing the critical need to increase the various actors that can and should contribute to this agenda. Over the last 2 decades, we have explored what roles governments, local communities, the UN, and civil society must play in advancing the empowerment of women and girls. However, we are only beginning to tap into the potential that partnerships with the private sector can offer in realizing the transformative goals of the WPS agenda. It is for this reason that the UAE, as President of the Security Council in March and on the occasion of International Women's Day, held the Council's first ever high-level open debate on how greater engagement from the private sector and stronger multi-stakeholder partnerships can support the participation of women in sustaining peace and rebuilding their nations. One of the key takeaways from our discussion in New York was how, in public-private partnerships, stakeholders can leverage together each of our unique and multidimensional strengths, not only to improve women's individual livelihoods, autonomy, and self-sufficiency, but also to strengthen women's opportunities to engage fully, equally, and meaningfully in their communities. In light of this, I would like to highlight 3 areas of focus of how the private sector and multi-stakeholder partnerships can advance and support the role of women and girls globally. First, all relevant stakeholders need to talk to each other and work together. Let's leverage our diversity while keeping unity of purpose. Multi-stakeholder platforms, like the Compact, could support such links and dialogues at the regional and local level. We must support mechanisms that facilitate relationships between governments, the UN, the private sector, and local actors. We can fill in the gaps in each other's expertise and offer concrete commitments to enhance women's roles in the economic sphere. Second, we must ensure women have equal access to all services that enable them to participate in the economy, as this is a critical tool in securing their livelihoods. Together, the public and private sectors offer a wide array of resources that support women's economic inclusion, such as access to digital technologies, capacity building in financial literacy, and vocational education. And third, the private sector benefits from inclusive and prosperous societies, so it must contribute to the development of such societies. And there are endless arguments for how their support of the full participation of women in the global economy benefits a company's bottom line. Women are 50% of potential consumers, 50% of potential labor force, and UN Women states that the gender gap costs the global economy some 15% of GDP. To conclude, it is clear that we cannot work in silos if we want to fully implement the WPS agenda. As we know from facing other transnational challenges like climate change and COVID-19, the power of collective action must be seized. The UAE looks forward to working with all of our partners here to further promote the work of the Compact and to drive the WPS agenda forward. I thank you.